Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified when the next video comes out. It only takes 2 seconds to make 2 clicks. So let's do it. Let's get back to the video. Hello, Fearless Freedom fam, Fearless Freedom tribe. We are here another week, and I am so excited because today we have Cori Myka, and she is going to tell you about all of the awesome things that she's up to and who she is, because man, she's up to some amazing things. Cori.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
So, so see that you have a really cool background there. Looks like water, and what you do has a lot to do with water. True?
Yes, I am all about the water. So my company for the last almost 22 years now, coming up there in April, but is teaching adults recreational and overcoming fear in deep water.
Nice. Now that's something that I think a lot of people are having difficulty with. I know for sure that I was born on an island. My mom was born on an island, grew up most of her life on an island, but she never knew how to swim. She actually was terrified of swimming. And can you give some insight as to why someone who is surrounded by water and has had all of that exposure would still be afraid of something like that?
Yeah, well, fear is a super useful emotion. And when you talk about, there are things that you want to be afraid of, like sticking your hand in a fire, or not being able to breathe, or gee, other people have died doing that. Maybe I need to feel a little fear, right? So it's like super normal and healthy. And certainly when you talk about the water, like it has the element of when you're underwater, you can't breathe. So having a degree of sense of fear around that is not, it's sort of innate to who we are as human beings. And then but if we've had, in addition to that, trauma around that hasn't been healed, or you just have that story, that keeps going on and on about being careful and remember that tragic story of so-and-so, that we really hold on to that story, and fear gets presented before there's even an actual danger. And that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah, no. I mean, maybe. I don't know if she had a traumatic experience when she was a child, because I don't think they went out to the beach very often in her childhood. I know that she definitely did it quite a bit as she got older, because she was pretty much on her own since like age 16, because she graduated high school and started going out to work. No, she never shared that with me. So I don't know if that's the root of her issue. I just always thought it was kind of odd that she never learned how to swim, and she was always kind of afraid because of that, maybe because she never took swim lessons. But she never even ventured to try to swim on her own. Like some people try, they'll do something, maybe they'll do like a doggy paddle, or they learn how to tread water or something. But she never got to that phase. She did, however, teach me how to swim. Like she had me go to swim lessons and made sure I knew how to swim while we're still on the island. So I don't know what her fear is rooted in, but I know that there are quite a number of adults who have this fear. And maybe it is, like you said, maybe it is something that stems from, maybe they knew of somebody who die doing the thing. And so then it's a warranted fear. Or maybe they knew of somebody, oh, look, oh, so sweet. So for those who can't see the video, Cori's cat just like made a cameo, as my daughter just made her cameo in her nightgown behind me. And I had to shift the camera, but Cori's cat is now giving her some love. So yeah, so it's like, it's very on, it's hard because I'm sure, and I'm making an assumption here. I'm sure when you're doing your coaching and you're digging into the fear, there is some deep dive into looking at what is the cause, like the root cause of the fear of water. Am I right in that?
Absolutely, for sure. Well, the real thing, I mean, we sometimes do a deep dive and we can find out where those roots come from. I mean, even when you talk about your mom, it could even be her parents didn't know how to swim. So as a parent, you have two ways really to kind of keep your kids safe. You're like, be careful, stay away.
Yes.
Because I can't save you and I don't know what to do. Or you say, go do swimming lessons, right? And parents like put their kids in swimming lessons, even because they're like, I don't know what to do. And I don't want you to have this fear too. And I want you to be safe. Both very loving choices, right? They're both
Absolutely.
they come from a place of love. And one just can kind of perpetuate a fear though. And it is certainly a way to stay safe. A way to stay safe in anything in life is just not
do it.
But it's a living life, right?
Right.
And your mom was like, I want you to have a big life, daughter.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Absolutely appreciate it. And it's kind of funny because then we put our kids in swim lessons too. So I don't know. The whole family knows how to swim now, which is kind of cool. So tell me, so you got to tell us a backstory, because I know there has to be a backstory behind you starting this venture. So 22 years ago, like what happened that made you decide that you're going to take fear and you're just going to say, I'm going to help you to face this fear and I'm going to help you conquer it. And it's going to be amazing. And we're going to do it in this modality. Like what happened that brought you there?
Well, I wish I could say that exact story happened 22 years ago. It didn't quite happen at that point in the juncture. It's as anything, a journey, right? So me, my husband and I, we weren't married at the time, but easier to start a business than it was to start a life together.
Okay. That works.
But we'd work some with adults, and I really loved the working with the adults. That's what really called my passion. And I could get an adult to swim across the pool, like they do all of the things I tell them to do. Move your arms like this and your legs like this, and they do all the things. And they get to the other side of the pool, and I'd say, well, how was it? And they'd say, I have no idea. And I thought, what is missing here? Something is missing, because they're doing all the functions, all the actions, but they didn't feel like a swimmer. They still felt unsafe. They didn't feel confident in themselves. So just being able to do the things didn't instill the feeling that they were really looking for, the freedom that they wanted. And it still seems so mysterious to them. And so that's what really put me on the quest, is my students calling me forward. It's like, what is it that we're missing here? And it's this feeling that we're missing. So this is really where I started the inquiry of where does this come from? And this really comes from, our feelings don't come out of our actions. Our feelings come out of our story, our thoughts, our beliefs. That's what really drives the fear. I mean, we were talking about your mom and her feeling fear. She may or may not have had trauma, but some story was in there that said, you should feel afraid. It's a good idea to feel afraid. And then she kept perpetuating that. That's what we all do about different things, right? You keep telling that same story. And so that's when it was like, oh, we've got to get down to the belief level. We need to understand that piece of it. And we need to connect it with the physical, to really connect it with your body knows things. And so when you feel this feeling, it isn't about doing it anyways. Feeling, there's that motto, feel fear and do it anyways, right? It's not, but it's really about feel the fear, feel it, see what it has to say to you. Let it slow you down for a moment sometimes there is a case of doing things with fear, and you decide, I'm going to take you along with you, and I'm going to hold you very gently.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's, no, this is a fire. I need to slow down and learn some steps on how to, let's say, deal with fire, right? You can
Right,
handle
right,
fire
right.
safely, you can
Mm-hmm.
handle it chaotically.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
No,
yeah.
that's great. And then so okay, I guess we should go back a little bit further then. How did you get to the point where you were teaching people how to swim?
Yeah, so I mean, in me and water, it's been my thing since
Okay.
I was very little, right? I mean, I always think it's funny. My swim story, my personal swim story, is I've never completed a swimming lesson. I was always the kid standing like in the middle of the little platform, screaming that I didn't want anybody to touch me. Because they kept the sharks under the platform, and I was smarter than to stick my toes over
Oh,
the edge of the
nice, nice.
platform.
No, that's definitely that's definitely great. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
mean, the things that go through our minds when we're young,
but
it's incredible.
exactly, yes. But one of the powerful things that stuck with, two powerful things that stuck with me. One was a teacher saying, swim out to me. And I said, okay, but don't step back. And they say, okay, I won't step back. And I swim out and I watch their feet walk backwards.
Oh,
And little me was like, I am not having any of this. And I think that's where, like, I, for whatever reason, had my voice around swimming.
mm,
Other areas
yes.
of life, maybe not so much. But for this one, I wasn't having any of it. And but I didn't take I knew it was about the teacher relationship, the trust there. I still wanted to be in the water. I had an affinity
Okay.
for the water.
Hmm.
So I went to the water and I played games I called Lost in Outer Space. And I
Oh,
just
nice.
experimented, and what happened if I do this and do that? And it just taught me about how the water worked.
Okay.
And so that's how I really taught myself how to swim in that context, and then went on to do swim team, which is where I had learned to swim proficiently.
Okay.
But I think around the water, plus my having a voice for myself, and then that really, I think, is what the teaching part I was able to translate into having a voice for other people who didn't have that voice for themselves. So I think that's where the teacher part of me really came forward at a young age.
Nice, nice. Now, see, that's a great story. Were you not going to share that, Cori? I mean, come on. No, it's all good. It's all good. No, that's fantastic. And so, the seeds were planted at a very early stage. They developed over time. You were able to hone your technical skill through different avenues like swim team, etc. But then you also had to work on nurturing how you would relay that that concept of teaching and making sure that people were actually drawing upon their voice, right? And really, really amplifying their voice. Now, what did you do to work on engendering that trust in your clients? I almost said patients, in your clients, and also engendering the ability to teach them effectively? Like, how did you work on that?
Well, I mean, it kind of comes down to some of my core beliefs. And my core beliefs is that we are all created perfectly. And there is enough grace when we fall away from that perfection, right? That's the normal piece of being human. And so when I look at people and I see people, I really I'm always looking to their core of who they are as perfect humans, as, still perfect people. It's really a process over time of really listening to people's stories, of really asking them questions to allow them the space to reveal their own story to themselves, even that they just had really kept it at surface level. And the surface level is usually around shame and embarrassment and being left out, and all those sorts of narratives that we feed ourselves that just hold us in place. I had a woman today who was in the water, and she talked about a story of being a kid and swimming with another kid who the friend was having trouble, and she went to go help this other kid, and the kid grabbed onto her. She shot, right? Because they both were going to go down. And she has felt so much shame about this her life, and like she did something wrong, and it was wrong that she felt fear when her friend grabbed onto her. But the end of the story is she pushed her off, and then she was able to call for help, and they both survived, right?
Oh, fantastic. I was my heart was like my heart was like in my like oh my God, I hope this kid survived. Oh my gosh, thank God the story ended well.
Yes, it did end well, but what didn't end well is her story of shame around this her whole life.
Sure.
Right? That
Absolutely.
she had this place like, I shouldn't have felt fear, or I shouldn't have shoved my friend off of me. But yet, of course, I mean, her survival kicked in. She did what was needed to do. But this story of shame that has followed her now, and she's in her 60s now, and she's come back to learn to swim. And so we had to deal with that story and see that there's a whole nother way to tell that story where you're really the hero of that story.
Yes. Because I mean, she literally called attention to the fact that the other person was in trouble because perhaps nobody else noticed, right? I mean, that's very much possible the case. And so now she called attention and everybody was able to have a good outcome, which is fantastic. That is awesome. That is awesome.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
So tell us now, how does your program work? So we've heard the backstory. We've heard kind of how the seeds were planted early in your life. Now if you don't mind telling us, how does the program work? And then how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so how our program works is we make it really simple for people because, like I said, there's all these shame and embarrassment and things that go into it.
Mm-hmm.
All of our stuff is online. So you can start with an online membership that talks about all of the mental components and the physical components. You can do it at home. You don't even have to put your swimsuit on.
Oh, right? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can start the lessons. You can start unraveling things and start seeing things while you're also figuring out the things like, what am I going to do with my hair, and how do I feel in this swimsuit, finding a swimsuit that I can feel comfortable in, and, all those kinds of things. So you start online. Our swim school is called Orca Swim School.com. So that's where people can find us. ORCA, like the whale, Orca Swim School.com. But anyways, you start with the online membership, and then from there we have in-person courses, and we have what's called our Foundation 1 class. It really teaches people. We take you all the way back to the basic foundations, which includes the mental piece and the physical piece. Because at some point, something has been skipped in somebody's journey, in their learn to swim journey. And so we want to really make sure you have a strong foundation, which says, I understand how my body in the water works, not how that person's body in the water works or how I think it should look like, but my perfect and beautiful body, how my body and the water work together. So we do that in the Foundation 1 course. And from there, people can go on and add all kinds of things that they want to. If they want to learn to lap swim or go snorkeling or, whatever else that they want to do.
So where are you? I mean, I know, but I would like you to tell everybody, where are you able to have live lessons, in-person lessons?
Yeah. So right now, all of our in-person lessons are happening in the Seattle, Washington area. Although our newest thing, we've always certified and trained in-house employees. We have just launched our certification for instructors so that we can get instructors certified all over the country. So we are actively looking for people who love swimming. And it's like, man, wouldn't it be awesome to have a job to pass this love along to somebody else? So soon it will be outside of Seattle.
Awesome. And then, so you mentioned that your significant other is also a part of the business. did you start a business together? Is that what you said?
We did. We did. We started it together. He no longer actively works in the business in terms of the day-to-day running on it.
Okay.
He's in the honeydew side of the business now.
Oh, nice. Good for him.
So his full-time job is a firefighter. So
Oh,
that's
fantastic. Oh, another service job. That's awesome. That's great.
yes. Yeah. So he does
Okay.
swiftwater rescue. He
Oh, I see. Got it.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he does that.
Wow. And then the waters out there are not warm.
No, they are not. They
I
are not.
was just thinking about that, like, oh my goodness. Extra thank you. Because man, that's something else.
They put stuff on.
Right. I'm
They-
sure. I'm sure the all of the high-tech wetsuit and whatnot. Wow. No, that's great. That is great. And
Mhm.
so we talked about, the fear, like how you overcame your own fear, related to water. And you did so very early. You identified it and you did so quite early. Were there any, or was there any fear around starting the business? Because that's not something that you know, it's not like we brush our teeth and it's like innate. Starting a business is a little complicated, isn't it?
Yeah, I truthfully around the starting the business, I think we were just young and dumb at the time, right? We were just like we really felt like we had nothing to lose. Like I said, we weren't married, we didn't have kids, we didn't own anything. We were just like, let's just go for it and see what happens. And that worked well. And I must say though, my place that I'm really coming up against fear in running a business and is really in terms of scaling, right?
Uh,
Raised our
mhm.
children. I've got a kid off who's on a 5-month hike right now. I've got a kid in high school, so my kids are launching out, and so it's like time for me to take it to the next level.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's where like launching my new business with life coaching and scaling the swim school. That's where I'm really having an opportunity to come up against my own places of fear and practice my own teaching. So
Oh, that's fantastic. No, that's great. It's good to hear that because I think that, you know, now when we're a little bit more entrepreneurial minded these days, right? Because what has kind of triggered that is the whole being at home and working from home. And then, people are doing a lot more personal development and then finding, oh, this is my zone of genius. Maybe I can do something to help others using this thing. And, our business is born. But it's it always in retrospect, and you had something that's very successful, you're like, wow, yeah, how did I like do that? How did I step out of my comfort zone and just do it? And so it's always very interesting to hear the backstory. And you said that at the time you both really said, you know what, we can just do this now because we have nothing to lose basically and all to gain. And if it works, then fantastic. If it doesn't work, then it's not a big deal, right? So you kind of went into it. There was fear, but you went into it with mitigated risk and mitigated fear, I guess. And so that's fantastic. you know and it's also great to hear that now you're at that phase where things have developed. You have, life has progressed. You have, created humans that are now going off on their own and doing their own life adventures. And you're at a point, a fork in the road now where you're like, okay, I have these additional skill sets now that I didn't have 22 years ago. And I am looking to expand it to impact even more individuals than we initially intended or we initially planned to. And yeah, there's a huge amount of fear to that. And it is a sense of like, okay, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 46. And so for me, starting something brand new at 46, like I started a new martial art at 46. My first class was yesterday, and it was intimidating, right? Because I am the oldest person in the room, and my kids are doing it too, and they're like flipping around and doing their thing, and I'm like struggling, on bad knees, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like starting something new or starting something expansive that's going to push us at a advanced, a more, not, I won't say advanced age because it makes it sound like 46 is old. It's not old, but I'm just saying like at a older phase than when you were, first doing the venture. There is there's a different kind of feeling behind that. There's still fear, but you have like, it's, before it was, let's do it because we have nothing to lose. This time, speaking for myself, like when I'm doing this martial art, it's like, I know that this is going to be difficult and this is going to test me, but I know that the outcome is going to be fantastic. And I have a feeling that you're thinking the same thing because now you've seen the fruit, right? You planted all these seeds over 22 years locally and also through the online program. And now you're probably seeing it as the seeds from the initial planting over these 22, that harvest has been fantastic. But there can now be a global harvest that will come from expansion. And your level of maturity facing that particular fear now is just so much better because you have so much experience with dealing with the first planting. So I'm excited to see what you do. I am so excited because I just know it's going to be awesome. Just looking at what you've already done. And, I am so encouraged and inspired at you taking this next step. And it's just really encouraging to a lot of people, particularly who are listening to this, because the majority of people that listen to this podcast are 35 to 55 years old. And so, we may be mid-career and thinking about pivoting. We may be forced to do that. And so, knowing that at this stage, you can make a pivot like that is fantastic. Very inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing that story.
Thank you. Yes. Well, and I really appreciate the section that you gave there because just looking at that beginning, there was nothing to lose. That's what I've always said. There's nothing to lose. And as I'm going into this phase of scaling and coming up against things and starting a new business with my life coaching business, that when I have that piece of there's nothing to lose, the worst thing the worst thing that's going to happen is a feeling. And I know I've got my own back. I know I'm not going to shame and blame myself. Everything is a learning opportunity. And that's all it's about. It's just one failing forward learning opportunity, practicing loving myself. And I know that is what is going to yield, as in your words, yield the greatest harvest for myself and for other people. And yeah, I'm calling this the phase 3. That's a lot of the people I work with in my life coaching is like phase 3 of like, you're not in childhood.
Right.
You're not in young adulthood, like my 18-year-old who's out, like I said, doing this big hiking adventure.
Nice.
Just grown-upness.
Yes.
You've got all those boxes ticked. Now you get to grow for you and you get to grow into your purpose and passion into the world.
No, that's so awesome. So awesome. I love hearing that. It's like very inspiring, very inspiring. And I know it will be something that will touch the hearts and minds of those who are listening. And I really, really appreciate you sharing your story and inspiring us. Right. This has been such an amazing conversation, Cori. I appreciate you. And that brings us to the conclusion of our show. But what we have as a tradition that we do on the show, and it's the fill in the blank. Okay. Are you ready, Cori?
I'm ready.
Okay. Fantastic. 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 Okay. So the first one is, to me, fearless freedom means.
Fearless freedom means feeling your fear, listening to it, and then taking the next step.
Nice. Nice. The next one is, if I am fearless, I will.
I will make my results come true, all my driven results. I will teach millions of people to swim and hundreds of people to love their lives.
Awesome. Awesome. And we're all going to be watching with bated breath. We are. Oh my gosh. And then last but not least, my battle cry is.
My battle cry is that you are perfect, plenty of grace. Lion voice of truth speaks everything that you need. Together we move mountains. Those are my tenets.
Love it. Love it. You know what, Cori? Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to be with us in the Fearless Freedom Tribe. We appreciate you. We're going to be watching and supporting you. And everyone, be sure to reach out to Cori at her website, which is orcaswimschool.com. Okay? Awesome. Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Again, I'm Dr. G. And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe so that you can get notified of when the next episode is going to be. And also, I'll catch you next time. Have a great one. Be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.